Hi everyone. Welcome to this last session of the link. I'm actually pre-recording this so that you can watch it in your own time at your leisure. It's a very general sort of wrap up that doesn't necessarily introduce new content, but just sort of wraps up the objectives of the link, and gives you some advice about going forward on Monday when your course shell is open for your first two courses. So first of all, as always, we will start with an acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that World Roads is located on the lands that have been used since ancestral times by the Ksopsun and the Lekangwan families, and that we daily try and reflect about ways to acknowledge the fact that traditional ways of being and ways of learning contribute to the teaching of Royal Roads. And obviously, because this is a blended format, we encourage you, wherever you're located, to reflect on the impact that the communities, indigenous communities, have on your ways of being wherever you are located. The goals of these sessions are to explore and discuss the key frameworks of the MAELM program. So this will be familiar to many of you because you've seen this probably in some of the admissions material which you've perused before seeking admissions, but it will still give you a reminder. We will try and connect the program concepts to your thoughts and experiences. We will discuss, and this is probably the part that you are all dying to hear more information about, discuss the ways the residency will unfold virtually and get to know each other a little bit. So we'll start by the last objective, getting to know each other. So one of the main objectives of the link that you should by now have starting to build and enrich networks within the cohort. Obviously, the 2-week link is a little bumper period where we try and show you some of the challenges and opportunities that exist in an online environment. So you may have not reached all of your objectives yet. It's a sort of a test period. So don't give up and don't feel bad if you haven't reached all the objectives that you would set yourself, particularly when it comes to knowing people in your cohort. There is still time. And as you wrap up and finish the link, I would try and see if you can at least identify 5 colleagues of yours that you have learned something substantial about. So it may be about the practice, it may be about their community, it may be about some of the challenges which they're facing in terms of leadership. If you haven't at least managed to gain that level of knowledge around 5 of your colleagues, I think it's not too late. And as you finish the link, I would encourage you to go back onto some of the forums, watch some of the videos, reach out to some of your team members, but ensure that you've begun this process. And obviously the process will continue. We have team building activities during the first 8 weeks of the program, and you will be able to enrich these connections further and these networks further. But it's a good point to sort of recap and see where you are. These are going to be your friends, but they're also going to be your support networks, and importantly, they're going to be your collaborators. And I would add to this and say they will also become key allies in your future careers. So it is very important that you appreciate this and acknowledge it right away, and that you try and take every opportunity that you have to build these connections as you begin the program. Graduate education, just like any education, is not just about the acquisition of knowledge. It's about the creation of network and what we call social capital. And that social capital is going to be just as important to your future and to your career than the actual theories and concepts which will be introduced. So take time to definitely make sure that as you leave the link, you've actually set the ground. Obviously, you've not met everyone, but laid the ground to at least begin in a significant way the creation of these networks. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself too, since I've not really had an opportunity so far to introduce myself completely to you. So I was born in France, raised in England. I moved to Canada in '97, so over 20 years ago. I have worked, so I'm a K-12 educator. I was a teacher, was a principal as well for about 9 years. And I've worked mostly in the field of inclusion, mostly with a student population that has been marginalized, labeled often as having learning disabilities. But primarily my focus of my research, my practice has been students who are labeled and categorized as having social emotional behavior difficulties, so SCBD, and that's what I've done my master's on and my PhD on. And that's a very wide, loose group of students who basically have a tense relationship with school as an institution. So it could be because of diagnostic reasons, but it could be also from a sociological perspective, because there's a bad alignment between some of the needs and views and visions of world visions of these students, and the format that the school sort of offers. So my practice and my research are on this tension that can exist between these students that are not fitting well within school as institutions. I have worked with that clientele for a long time in the field. I was head of an experimental school, which was catering for the needs of students who had gone through repeated exclusion from schools. And then eventually I moved on to the PhD, wanted to become faculty. During my time as the duration of my PhD, I'm one of these people who, like you, refused to stop working. So I carried on working, but I wanted to switch out of K-12 because I thought it would be good to take a little bit of distance from, that was my area of research, area of my PhD. So to at least have an environment for the work that was a bit disconnected from that, to give me a bit of respite. So I took on a different position. I became head of accessibility services at McGill. It was called the Office for Students with Disabilities, and I was director of that office for 4 years, from 2011 to 2015. So that also informs my practice, because during that time, I've done a lot of work around disability studies as a framework, done a lot of work around inclusion, but in a higher education context this time, and also worked significantly around universal design for learning, which is a framework for inclusion, which has emerged in the last 10, 15 years and is showing promises in higher education. And I was in charge of trying to promote the UDL as a framework around McGill as a campus. After that, I defended my PhD the very end of 2015. In 2016, I moved to take on my first job as faculty as assistant professor in the Faculty of Education at the University of Prince Edward Island. So I was in Montreal. I left far out east, and I stayed there for 3 years. So at different times, I'll probably be talking to you about that, because I was working mostly on masters, as I'm doing now, and mostly supporting mid-career teachers as you are coming back for sort of a master's as a sort of step up in the promotion and their career development. And then after that, in the end of 2018, I got a job, a tenure track job here at Royal Roads, and came here. That's it, in December 2018, as associate professor this time, and as program head for MAELM. I've been here about over a year and a half now. And here I am the program head, which means in practical terms that I sort of supervises all the instructors on your program. So all the people that teach you eventually report to me, and I oversee the general content, tone, pedagogical approaches, and the running of MAELM. So I'll be your point of contact right through the program. Even when I'm not teaching you, I teach you in the first course, I'll teach you at the very end. But even right through the program, whenever you have, if you have a question around academics, around the program itself, you'll be able to get in contact with me. And I'll be there throughout the duration of your program. So I hope that helps. We'll have more opportunities to talk about each other's lives and careers, because I teach you right away starting Monday 29th, and we'll be talking about critical pedagogy. So we'll be looking at our practices quite a lot. So all of us will have another opportunity to share our backgrounds and our experiences. What was the link meant to ensure? So as we recap, hopefully by now you will have got to know each other a little bit. Obviously, you haven't been able to reach all of your goals there, but I hope you've made a significant step in that direction. Learn about the services that will be useful to you throughout your 2-year program. Particularly, I hope you've had time to look at the Writing Center videos. They will give you a session during residency. I hope that you've had a chance to look at some of the student services available at Royal Roads. I hope that you have looked at some of the library resources as well that have been offered to you. The library too will come back and give you a session during residency, particularly in terms of referencing software, which we've discussed already, and there's a session planned during residency. So you've had a first sort of look at everything that you need to go back to and rely on, and hopefully now you'll be able to explore these services in more depth during residency. Obviously, you've also begun a reflection on theory, because you've had a session that I will be debriefing on Monday. So I'm recording before the beginning of week 2, so it's Monday the 22nd when I'll be giving you a session on that as a recap. And obviously, you're starting to reflect on teamwork as well. And obviously, there are bumps in the road. And that's why we have this sort of 2 week bumper, no credit, experiential course where you start seeing some of the difficulties in terms of organization, in terms of communication, in terms of alignment of personalities. This is crucial to understand how effective teamwork operates. And it's important that you begin this reflection. Obviously, it's not the end of your learning. That reflection will grow, and with the help of Jason to support you, you will develop more and more effective approaches to teamwork and collaborative leadership. But that hopefully has begun already. Something I would suggest is if there have been issues with your team assignment, activity 11, make note of these and be ready to come back to them as soon as you begin the program, because as you begin your team assignment 1 in both of the courses, you may want to start flagging some of the issues that you've had in activity 11. And also, hopefully, you've started to reflect on what represents a good life-study balance. It can be overwhelming when you join a graduate course. You're suddenly bombarded by a lot of material, and so you've probably started to see that your involvement cannot be constant and synchronous. That you have to start thinking about what percentage of this will be asynchronous, what percentage will be synchronous, um, as to where you will fit the asynchronous part into your busy lives and schedule, and to start organizing this balance. Obviously, there will not be one size fit all recipe for everyone. Everyone will probably have a different way of navigating this. But it is important as you leave the link that you start thinking, what lessons have I learned in terms of work study balance, and also work study home life balance. So now we'll do a quick overview of program objectives. And this is something that a lot of you are already familiar with, so I'm not going to spend too long. I'll probably just relate it back directly to the courses you're about to begin. We have a nice quote there. If actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more, and become more, you are a leader. So obviously you're beginning this reflection on leadership, and that's something that will be progressive through the 10 courses that are beginning on Monday. These are some slides that we use in sort of general information about the program. I'm just bringing them back up so that you are able to connect them directly to the 2 courses that will begin. These are some of the sort of core values that you will see happen actually at Royal Roads around most programs at Royal Road. The notion of reflective learners. So you will see that certainly in 505 and in 501, you will have very specific assignments that require you to be reflective on your practice. Active lifelong learners. Obviously, you will see as you begin the 2 courses that we are trying to do what is called active blended learning, which means that you have a very active role in your learning. You are very rarely lectured to. You are mostly invited to either individually, in teams, or as a whole class, construct knowledge together. Critical thinkers, because starting Monday, you will be exposed to literature. And so the idea is that you're no longer just being empirical. You don't just rely on your observations of your practice, but you're starting to actually extract concepts and principles from the readings that you're doing and being able to apply them to your look on practice. And that's what makes you a critical thinker. It's going to enable you to gain a critical distance with the things that are happening in your classroom or in your schools or in your work, starting as soon as you begin the courses on Monday. And respectful and open to the views of others. Well, that's obviously something you're discovering already. That's one of the powers behind the cohort model, is that you are also creating these networks and learning how to work collaboratively with people who may have different theory and theoretical position, who may be using different literature, and may have different beliefs and values. And this is something that you'll have to navigate through the program. And again, this mimics a real world challenge. Whenever you're working in leadership, you are working with people who have different theoretical positioning, different beliefs, and different values, and you have to learn how to navigate that. This is another slide which is very useful, which sort of mirrors the reflective process that we often ask you to return to within the courses at Royal Roads. It will definitely be very prominent in 501 and 505. The schema that you have in front of you symbolizes and represents the 4 levels or dimensions of reflections that we ask of you routinely within the MAELM program. So the first level of reflection is about yourself as an individual and the baggage and the experiences you have as an individual. The other level of reflection is the knowing yourself as a learner. So your dimension as a learner. You are a learner in a graduate program, and you have in the past been a learner as well in other contexts. So at times we will ask you to reflect as a learner on a phenomena or on an experience. The third level of reflection is as an educator, because most of you have had classroom experience, and therefore we will ask you to return to that classroom experience and see whether that lens and that dimension of reflection is different and diverges from your reflection as an individual or as a learner. It may well clash with your experience as a learner. Sometimes, as an educator, we have habits and practices that we have developed within that lens as an educator, but they may clash with our very own experiences as a learner, which means you may be imposing some things on students in the classroom that you yourself don't want to see imposed on you as a learner. So we will explore some of these tensions and dichotomies. And the last level of reflection that we ask you to explore is knowing yourself as a leader. And obviously, that's an emerging level of reflection because you may not be a leader at the moment. But we will obviously ask you to develop that lens more and more progressively as you go through the course. Just returning to the general mission statement of the program as a whole, as you begin, it's to help aspiring and existing administrators develop the knowledge and skills that will enable them to function as effective leaders in today's and tomorrow's challenging educational environments. And again, you're getting to know each other. You will probably realize that some of you have had leadership experiences, some of you have not. Some of you work in an organizational role in schools, but may not actually be teachers at the moment. That diversity is great, and it's really going to enrich the discussions that we have. All of you, we have identified through the admissions program, have one goal in common. You are trying to move your perspective from a pedagogical perspective, that of an educator, towards one of a leader, but obviously a leader within an educational context. So you all have that in common, and you all have that shared common goal and future experience. These are some of the two next slides will actually repeat themselves quite a bit. These are some of the key characteristics that you will see in all of your MAELM programs. So enhancing self-awareness, that's the reflective part that we've just discussed, working effectively with others, the collaborate model, being inquiry-oriented, and the fact that we would like a lot of the examples and illustrations that you use in your assignments, in your activities, to be directly linked to your field and your field of work and your experience. Thinking critically, as I said, that's using concepts and theory that you're extracting from the literature, starting from Monday, to your thinking in order to attain a little bit of critical distance. Making evidence-based decision that works hand in hand with the critical thinking, because as you use literature, you will be increasingly using what we call data-based evidence, which is often the evidence that you will be extracting from those same studies and that same literature, and that data-based evidence will allow you to make sound decision. Understanding change management and system thinking, these two objectives go hand in hand. That will become more and more apparent as you go in depth into each course, and as you progress towards the second year of your program. We will show you that whenever you're looking at a phenomena or a situation or decision making, you are never in a vacuum. You always have to consider that you are part of a large organization that is complex and multi-layered, and that therefore you have to take other stakeholders and take communication into account. And you also have to take into account the way these different systems around you are interacting with each other and interacting with yourself. And that adds an understanding and awareness of the complexity of the decisions that you're making. You're not making them as an educator in the classroom alone with your students. You suddenly realize that you actually have many stakeholders around you and many systems that impact the decisions that you make in schools. Sorry, I've just jumped. This is a very similar slide that sums up these values again. There's a few values that have been added here. Action-oriented research, you will see that it connects with the inquiry base. You will see that as you progress towards 610, 610 is a course which is entirely action research oriented, action research based, which means that you will be looking at a real problem within your actual work environment and setting up a study proposal to try and tackle that question or that issue or that challenge. The faculty as scholar practitioners, you will discover quickly that all of your instructors are people who still have a foot in the field. I may be the exception in this, in the sense that I'm the only person who's a sort of career academic, because I work full time in a university, but all of your other instructors are still involved in the field and have a PhD and are working in, at teaching you, but also have other roles still currently in the field. And the other item that hasn't been mentioned on previous slides is, so I'm clicking on things that I shouldn't be, is the seamless program flow. Obviously, as you begin progression towards your courses, you are going to have more practical and concrete questions about how is this actually working. So 8 weeks for the first ones. It's a little shorter because normally you would have been with us for two, full-time weeks in the middle. So that semester is slightly smaller. We've switched on to online because of COVID, but that still remains at an 8 week. And then you have 1 week off, and then your programs are 9 weeks. And so they begin, you begin with that sort of rhythm. 9 weeks on, 1 week off, 9 week on, 1 week off, all the way till the end of your program, except the last course is a 6 credit course, so it lasts for twice the duration. It's an 18-week course. Make good use of that week in between. You are now entering a rhythm, which will be your rhythm for the next 2 years. Very important that you try and finish everything on time, not because we're strict or rigid. You can get extensions if really something has hit you, blindsided you, and you actually need a little bit of extension. But usually, always try to stick to the end of the course for submission of assignments, because it's very important that you get that week off. It's the only time off that you're getting for the next year and 3 quarters, where you will be able to fully relax and not focus on studies. So I really advise you to always try and stick to the end of the course, fully enjoy with family and friends that holiday for your mind that you're getting, even if you're still working in your schools or in your work environments. But at least disconnect from the program and disconnect from your words for a good week, and then you get back into the rhythm for the following 9 weeks. This is another graph that you will see a lot during the programs. It's really to explain to you the interaction on learning and leadership. Obviously, you will begin with 501, looking at very theoretical notions of leaderships that are sometimes extracted from other fields, particularly from industry. So the aim of the program is obviously to apply leadership to learning, but it's also very unique in the sense that we also are looking at how learning feeds into our views of leadership. So it's not a one sort of downwards movement of applying theoretical leadership to learning. It's a two-way system, which has been shown in a sort of spiral, but it buckles back on itself. Leadership influences learning, but the fact that we are in a learning organization or learning environment also influences the way we look at leadership. So it's a sort of two-way influence and osmosis. That was it for the sort of the content slides on the program. The program structure, you're probably familiar with this, but we'll just go through this again. So 33 credits, you have 7 competency domains. These are the competency domains, so it's within these domains that you will find your learning outcomes, and the learning outcomes of the programs are apparent in the Moodle shell for each program. They're repeated on each of those. And when you go to your assignment matrix, you will see that the assignments will indicate clearly which of the learning outcomes are tackled by the assignments, and each of the learning outcomes are positions within this matrix. The matrix is for the whole program, not for each individual course, and then each course determines which of the competency domains apply to it. So overall, they are touched on by the program as a whole, and then within each course, some of the competency domains are tackled in each of the courses. You have 8 to 10 courses. Why 8 to 10? Because if you choose to do a thesis and to take the thesis route, you will have less courses, and those courses will be much larger because one of those obviously will be a whole year course with your supervisor developing your thesis. You will do a research paper regardless. As I said, ELM 610 is a research paper, except that we don't ask you to collect the data and finish the paper. We ask you to take the proposal all the way till it is about to begin, including the ethics. So if you want to carry on the study, you're basically set and ready to go. But within the duration of the program, it's not feasible to make you finish the study, but at least it is ready to go, and then you're autonomously able to continue that study program. I'll show you a quick overview of the progression. So you'll begin with residency, which happens at the same time concurrently with 2 courses, 501, 505. 501 will be taught by Audrey, 505 is taught by me. Then you will have a week break, and then you will begin the sequence of 9-week courses, beginning with 510, which you're taking with a gentleman called Brian. Then you'll have a week off, 9 weeks of courses with 540, which is taught by Kevin. And then you will have a week off, 550. So you probably want to know what the names are as well. So 510 is introduction to research, basically. 540 is communication as is related to the school and communicating with the community, with the outside. So it's an inside school towards community and partnerships on the outside. 550 is another communications course, but this time it's about communication inside the institution, so communicating with employees, communicating with the staff that you supervise, and that is taught by William. Then you move on to 560, which is a course on technology, which is taught by Jordan. It's incorporating basically technology into educational environments with a lens on leadership being applied to that, obviously. Then if you are just doing the regular taught and research project route, you will have 570, which is taught by Owen, and which is about curriculum. It's a curriculum course. How do we create and develop curriculum? And the, again, leadership dimension on that, and how as leaders do we support curriculum development. 580 is a course on supervision, which is taught by Get, and you will there be looking at how to supervise staff. So not so much communicate anymore, but really the notion of supervising, assessing, evaluating, hiring. 525 is taught by Lauren, and this is your digital e-portfolio course. So during that course, you will be summarizing already and synthesizing elements from all of the courses into a digital portfolio. That digital e-portfolio has an experiential component. So we hope that it is actually getting you ready for employment and promotion, and that you will be able to use that e-portfolio for your development of your career. So it showcases all of your learning and the skills that you acquired during your program. And then you finish off with 610, which is a double credit, a 6-credit course, so a double course in duration and in credits. And it's the development of a proposal, a research proposal, a fully fledged research proposal, which again is action-based in the sense that it's requiring you to look at your work environment, looking at a problem which requires your attention, and then developing a study methodology and research questions that enable you to tackle that problem. If you were to decide to take the thesis route, you would be switching after 560 onto 2 different courses. The LRNT 600, which is preparation of the research question for thesis, and then the LRNT 690, which is a 1-year course, which is the development of the thesis itself with your supervisor. And why do they have a different course number? You may ask yourself, and it's a very valid question. It has a different name because those courses actually are shared with the other 3 streams that exist within the School of Education and Technology. We have a stream called MAELM, which is for higher education and management. And we have another stream called MALET, which is more focused on technology and open technological environments. You share these courses with students who may be thesis routes, who are in Mallet or in MAELM. So you would be present in LRNT 600 with a cohort that would be multi-stream, that will actually have participants from the other two streams. This obviously has a course name, but you are alone on this because you are really being supervised. So it's a one-way it's a one-person communication between you and the supervisor. It's not a course in a sense of still having a cohort and a number of participants. You may have questions about the thesis route. If you're interested in the thesis route, you may be wondering, when do I elect? We would bring these conversations up probably after 510 has ended, during the 540 course. Why? Because it enables us, first of all, to see whether the student has the capacity for autonomous research, because you are really one on your own for a year if you are doing the thesis route. It also enables us to see whether you've performed adequately in a 510 course, which is Introduction to Research, which obviously will be crucial if you want to do a thesis. And also it enables us, by then we know you a little bit better, and we're able to understand your interest, the kind of question that you might be leaning to. We may be starting to enter into conversations about whether there's any supervisor available within Royal Road or School of Education and Technology to supervise you. So that conversation by then is becoming a lot more tangible, concrete. So don't worry if you're interested in that. We will have sessions, formation sessions, and we will have structured discussions and workshops around that during the time of the beginning of your 540 course. Residency. So as you're aware, we normally would have what we call residency, and you're going to see this term a lot. So I want you to really understand that we are all functioning with this model, and so sometimes we are going to default to this notion of residency, that something is a residency activity, or that we want you to know how residency has gone on. So normally you would be taking 2 courses. You would start them online, and then you would be doing 2 weeks of face-to-face, and then you would be returning to online. These courses would run with the same content that they are going to run now, but during the 2 weeks on which you're on campus, we would inject into your schedule not just classes with your 501 instructor or your 505 instructor, but you would also have a whole amount of sessions that would be called residency sessions. And they would be tackling certain themes that are not necessarily within a course itself, certain skills that we think you require. Again, the development of understanding and appreciation of certain services that are available to you. So a whole bunch of different sort of interactive sessions that would have been woven into your schedule while you would have been when you would have been on campus if we had not been subject to this COVID crisis. So what we've done is your 2 courses will run as normally for the 8 weeks. Obviously, you will not have the face-to-face classes, but we will simply be teaching it online. But we wanted to maintain these residency activities. And instead of concentrating them on the 2 weeks, because obviously we don't want to have you online full time, which would make no sense. You would get exhausted. The online environment is not is not compatible with that kind of attention and long-term use on a daily basis. So what we've done, instead of trying to focus those activities in a 2-week period, we've simply spread them on the 8 weeks. So now you will see, as you begin the program on the 29th of June, that from week 1, you have certain activities in your schedule which are marked as residency activities. So all this means is that normally they would have happened on campus and they would have happened during your face-to-face time. And instead now they're happening virtually and they have been spread out. Obviously, you will see that there's a main schedule, which is, it's been my task to stay on top of that, because we realize that it becomes a little more difficult to make sure that nothing clashes between the 2 courses and the residency activities. So you have a master calendar which appears on Moodle, and it shows you in a linear way. I've created a sort of list of all the activities per week, and I'm also going to attach 3 Word calendars. If you prefer to look at it in terms of calendar visually, you'll be able to see the activities there. If you'd rather see it in a linear, detailed way, you'll be able to access that as well. Because we have these residencies that normally happen face-to-face, we had to place them somewhere online in an online space, and we didn't want to confuse you. You will see that when you enter your dashboard on Monday 29th, you will have 3 courses, not 2. You will have the 501 course, which is a course on leadership theory, which is run by Audrey. So you will be able to enter that course, see the schedule, see the activities, start to interact with Audrey. You will see another course shell, which is called EDM 505, which is Leading for Social Justice, which I teach. So you will be able to enter that course. You will see its own schedule, its own activities, its own assignments, and you will be able to interact with me and with others on that course shell. And you will see another one called the MAELM Hub. The MAELM Hub was created last year because already last year we had the residency, but we felt the students expressed the need to have another shell that would stay open for the whole 18 months and 19 months of your program, and would enable you to have easy access to me as co-faculty, and also would enable me as faculty to pop in every so often, regardless of what courses you were on, to be able to offer you some extra sessions on development of skills, on themes that you may have touched on but did not have time to go into depth in your course. So it creates another third space, if you want, of interaction between myself as co-faculty and the program and with yourself. So the MAELM Hub was there anyway, so we decided simply to transfer all of the residency activities onto the MAELM Hub. So in the MAELM Hub, you will find your residency schedule. In fact, you will see that the residency schedule, which I was just talking about, actually includes some of your 501 and 505 activities, because we thought it would probably help you mentally to see it all listed together, to see that there were no clashes, and also to be able to gauge within each week exactly the number of times that we're trying to connect with you. So as you enter into your courses on Monday, 501 course shell, 505 course shell. Third is your hub, MAELM Hub. All of the activities that are called residency will happen on the MAELM Hub, which means that you will see within the schedule. I always tell you exactly in what room it happens. Mostly it will happen in the MAELM Collaborate room, because the MAELM Hub has its own Collaborate room. But there are times when I take you to my own personal Collaborate room, or sometimes we're going to use Blue Jeans as well. But that's always indicated, and you have the link on that schedule. Okay, so again, I'll repeat, as you enter into Monday into your dashboard, we'll call the dashboard, you will see your 501 course, your 505 course, and your MAELM Hub. The MAELM Hub will be useful to you for all of the residency activities. The MAELM Hub will not close. It will stay with you for the whole duration of the course. So you will see that we continue to help it, to use it, when we connect together between myself as program head and you as students during the program. I hope that's clear. If it's not clear, send me questions as you begin, and you will. I'll be able to give some more detail. So again, whenever we talk about residency, we refer back to these activities which normally would have happened face-to-face on campus, but now are spread over the 8 weeks. The activities that are called residency are of 3 types. They are team building. We will see that called community building. So Audrey and I will begin with 2 community building activities that we model and organize for you. And then the students will be required to organize their own. So you have 6 more, and you are responsible for organizing this community building activities. They are fun activities, but activities that have an objective. So it's not just an icebreaker. It's an icebreaker with an intent, with a purpose. You also have sessions that are allowing you to interact with services. In particular, we have a Mendeley referencing software session in the library. You have a session with the Writing Center. You will have a student services session. You have several sessions like this that enable you to explore real-world services in more depth. And then you have certain thematic sessions as well, which actually have to do with not the course content itself, not services, but other skills, other content that we want you to think of. In particular, you will see that there's a film discussion workshop. We ask you to watch a film, and then we have discussion on it. There's a session on creating a social media presence and visibility. There's a session on the IB certificates. There's several sessions like this that you will see floating around the 8 weeks schedule, and they are thematic rather than being about service or team building. You will be attending and following these activities within the MAELM Hub. I've explained that. I've explained what the MAELM Hub is. So something which I've explained on your schedule is that obviously it's a lot easier this year spreading these activities on 8 weeks, because you used to have a full schedule. And normally when people are on campus for the 2-week residency, it's fairly intense. You're dealing with a workload for 2 courses on top of that. All through the days, you're attending a whole bunch of sessions. So it can get very intense. And in a way, it's more relaxing, because now we've been able to give a lot more space and spread this over 8 weeks. The reverse side of the coin is that obviously every week of the 8 weeks first semester, you have things scheduled. And we appreciate this is your entire summer, and that some of you will want to take holidays. So I mapped this out on the MAELM Hub residency schedule, and I explained that we obviously know that you will have to take time off. It's a matter of you of prioritizing, seeing how you can remain connecting, but we expect that some of you will be away on holidays with family, and that you'll need to juggle both. If you need to prioritize something, I would always prioritize the community building activities, because that's the first priority of the residency. Those synchronous sessions where you're actually organizing the session, the community building activity, and taking part of it, are going to be the heart of the residency activities. If you miss an introduction to a service or a thematic session, they will always be recorded. So I would say that as long as when you come back from your trip or your holiday, you get down to business, you watch the videos, you stay in touch, it will be fine. As long as you obviously have seen engaged with the material, and that you've kept up to date. So prioritize the community building activities. You may obviously still miss some, we'll record them too, but those are the ones that you should prioritize. Obviously, we would overall expect you to be engaged throughout the 8 weeks, but we understand that there may be 1 week, 2 week spaces where you have planned summer holidays and there's nothing we can do. Obviously, you thought you'd be here for 2 weeks, very intensive, and be able to plan holidays elsewhere in the rest of your schedule for the summer. So obviously, we understand that you will need that same flexibility. So no need for permissions or asking for or telling us that you're away. Simply see how best to juggle both. To be honest, if it's a community activity, you may be able to attend it on your phone simply by you being a passive listener. I hope that even when you're away, you will be able to still connect with the residency activity in a very sort of laid back, passive listener mode, but at least it will keep you engaged. So see how much juggling you can do as well in terms of mobile devices, your phone, and if that allows you to still remain connected, even if you're not doing active work or working on text, but you're still able to connect for an hour here and there, even if you're on trip or even on a holiday. See if you can do that. That would probably help, but otherwise, just catch up when you get back. MAELM options, obviously, you are still, we used to have two certificates. One of the certificates, the requirements have been developed to a level where now it would require you to do a lot more work than simply complete the MAELM program. So we're not able to deliver that one anymore, but we're still able to offer the advanced certificate in leadership research. You are probably, if you're interested in this, you're probably wanting more information. Don't worry, there will be a residency information session during the program. It's scheduled, so just attend that, and then Marlene and myself will give you the information that you require, and then you'll be able to be autonomous from that point on in your relationship with IBO. If you have any questions on this, don't hesitate to get in touch. Obviously, I've pre-recorded this because we, from experience, know that on the last day, it's easier for people to be able to watch this session as they please in flexi time and in asynchronous format. But so obviously that means that we are not able to take questions live, but don't hesitate to email myself or Marlene if you have any questions on anything that we've touched on so far. Again, just to walk you through it, first of all, enjoy the weekend. This was a 0 credit experiential opportunity to get to know the services and the format. They're not high stakes here. Even if something has gone wrong, you've had a few bumps in the road, just reflect on those, draw some lessons, take the weekend to relax. It's always very important on the graduate program to take every opportunity you have to disconnect and to recharge. That's what you're able to do on this weekend. We want you to go away on Saturday and Sunday and enjoy yourself and think of other things, and then join us back on Monday refreshed and be able to join your 2 courses to begin. So first thing to do when you join back on the 29th, you will see in the morning around 6, I think your dashboard opens and you will be able to see your 2 course shells. It's very important as a reminder that you always log in on the first day in each of the course shells. So 501 and 505, you will need to log into both of those. You will be certainly dying probably to see what the course outline looks like, what you'll be asked to do. You will have the dates of your Collaborate sessions on there as well. And there will be the occasions when you first are able to connect synchronously with both your instructors. And then you will be able to go into the MAELM Hub, your 3rd course shell, and see the residency elements that are planned for you, and to keep an eye on those as you go through the 8-week progression. Another thing which is different that you need to do, you need to register for a one-on-one with me during the July 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd. These are 15-minute sessions that are just allow me, since I'm going to be your colleague and facilitator of this program for 2 years, to get to know you a little bit more. So it's 15 minutes where I'm just going to ask you some very standard questions. Where are you based? What do you do? What do I need to know about yourself? Is there anything in your life happening at the moment that I've got to be aware of? How are you dealing with COVID? What are your interests? A 15-minute discussion. It's really important. It enables me as well to visually put a name to a face. Same for you. And to be able to establish a bit of a personal relationship. So there's no content, don't worry, no stress, but it is important that you register. I think at present I'm missing 10 students. 10 students have not registered yet for that chat. If you cannot, there's several windows. If you cannot find a time that suits you, get in touch with me one-on-one and we'll fix something on a one-on-one basis that may be outside those windows, so we still get a chance to meet for 15 minutes. It's very tight. and we meet in my collaborate room. You will have the login in the Moodle in the MAELM Hub shell. Remember that not to log in too early because it's only 15 minutes. So if you are logging in early, you're actually impeding on someone else one-on-one chat. It could be personal. So I'll ask you to stick to the times and really log on exactly at the right time. So if it's on the hour at 15 past, not to log in beforehand because otherwise you will overlap with someone else's session. We'll try and stick to these times. It works well normally. I look forward to it. It's going to be a great occasion for me to get an occasion to know you and to really be able to start that relationship, which will be with us for 2 years. So I hope you enjoyed the link. I hope you've learned a lot from it. I hope you are full of energy to start on Monday 29th with your 2 courses. I will see you on the 29th as your instructor of 505. And in the meantime, relax, enjoy time with family and friends, and enjoy the summer and the weather. And we'll see you very soon.